right, Pastor Michael, next question in our series on Roman Catholicism. Is it okay to pray to saints?
Is it okay? I'm going to go with definitely not. So in the scriptures, there is no example of this happening, number one. Number two, there is no encouragement for Christians to speak to anybody who is dead. And so therein is the line. If someone is in heaven or hell, we are not free to speak to them. We are not free to engage them. We're not free to summon them. All of that is completely off limits. And so I think this would actually apply to Mary as well, because as it is, Mary for the Roman Catholics was assumed into heaven, but there's nothing that permits us, encourages us, allows us to send our prayers to heaven to anybody other than God. So the scope of our communication seems to be vertical to God and horizontal to things that are alive on earth.
So if Jesus is our mediator, why would I, a Christian, pray for you or somebody else around me? What's kind of the meaning there? Yeah,
Christians, we use a funny language. We'll say Jesus is our mediator because Timothy says there's one mediator between God and man, the man Jesus. And so we call ourselves intercessors. Well, Jesus is also called our intercessor, and so is the Holy Spirit.
Well, Jesus is everything.
Yes.
Yes.
And so, but what never happens is you never ever go to a human and ask them to talk to anybody but God. But that's where this alive deadline is really important, because we are permitted to ask a living people to intercede for us, but not dead people. Now, somebody might say, but if they're in the presence of God, they're alive.
Right.
Again, speaking to any being in the spiritual realm other than God himself is forbidden. Like, we don't pursue those things. Now, if an angel, I can hear the retort, right? If an angel comes and talks to you and they take that initiative, fine, have a conversation.
You may communicate with that angel.
Just make sure it's not a demon.
Yeah.
Just want to say that out loud.
Good piece of advice.
Yeah. So, but again, is it okay to pray to saints? No, it's not. In fact, biblically, it should be forbidden. Is it okay to pray to Mary in that case? No, she's with God in heaven. There's no example. And I want to empathize for a moment. Like, I grew up with a Roman Catholic, grandma, and there's a saint for everything. There's a statue of a saint in the fridge. There's one in the garden. There's one in the bedroom. And
there's one when you lose something. There's one,
And I get it. Your entire notion of the physical realm and the spiritual realm and the divine communicating with us mortals, your idea of all of this is so entrenched in saints, and it's really hard to undo that. And I get that. But what we always have to do is pull back and say, do the scriptures model this, teach this? There are some things that are explicit and some things that are even implicit. But what do you do when none of these things are even implicit?
Yeah.
And that's where I think when we talk about Mary and saints and purgatory, and this is where as a Roman Catholic, it's kind of hard to learn that all of these things that are just so regular in your spiritual life are never even once inferenced in the Bible.
Yeah.
And so when I talk to my Roman Catholic friends, if I ask them, hey, do you think praying to saints is in the Bible? Or do you think Mary's sinlessness is in the Bible? Or the Hail Mary is in the Bible? Most of them just assume it is.
Yeah.
Because Roman Catholicism is supposed to be built on the foundation of Jesus Christ and the Word. And it's so common in everything they do. They just have always assumed it's there.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard for people to learn the things that you thought were in the Bible weren't in the Bible.
Yeah.
And this is a really, I would say, paranoid time in human history where people are more frustrated than ever when people put words into God's mouth. You know what I mean? Like, is that man or is that God? And to learn the amount of Roman Catholic doctrines that weren't from the Bible, but were from men, it is a very hard thing for many Roman Catholics to come to grips with.
Yeah. Well, and ultimately, in most of these questions, our number one piece of counsel is turn to the scriptures, open the Bible,
please
look for it. Is it in there? If it is, it's from God. If it's not, you should be looking at it a little bit more critically.
Amen.
And I'll close with 1 Timothy 2:5-7, which we've referenced in other episodes. For there is one God and there is one mediator between God and men, the man Jesus Christ.
Amen.